All right, everybody, welcome back. Another edition of the Unwired Appalachia podcast. Special guest, Brian Milam. Everybody sees this, probably knows his face from over the years of covering sports. A new role now at the KHSAA, Brian. First off, tell everybody, I know your position. You're media relations and
communications. Yeah.
So tell everybody how working for the KSS is going right now, why you're in town, I guess, real quick, and, just what things are going on real quick right now before we get into a deeper conversation.
Well, September 5th, 2025 was my last day in television, day-to-day television. Started at YMT, as many people know, of a certain age, people know, January 2nd, 98, and then made my way to WKYT in Lexington, June 2nd of 2010, and got out September 5th, 2025, and moved to the KHSAA. The Commissioner, Julian Tackett, he kind of courted me a little bit 3 years ago. And, timing is everything. Timing wasn't right for me. I didn't like, you know what your strengths are. I know what my strengths are. My strength was not maybe what he wanted for that position at that time. Being the commissioner, he can pretty much do what he wants. And he tweaked the position. All right, now it's me. That's more me.
Yes.
And in the future, when I understand what he wants, I know what I can do. My role will morph a little bit. Duties as other duties as assigned, I can live with that. But September 8th, 2025 was my first day at the KHSAA, and I'm the Communications and Media Relations Director. So I believe I'm the first person at the KHSAA in this role to be a former media person.
So you understand it a little better.
I know what you need.
Yes, you
I know
exactly.
what
Without seeing your question, you're usually on top of it before I can even get done asking.
Yeah, so I know what TV needs. I know what radio people need. I know what newspaper needs are to a degree. And there has also been a definite, I think it's coming, a redefining of the word media. Traditional media. Appalachian News Express, traditional media.
Yes.
It's a newspaper. Radio with all the radio stations in the Big Sandy. That's traditional.
Yes.
WYMT, traditional. But a lot of people start an Instagram page, a Facebook page, a TikTok, Snapchat, I don't know what. Oh, we're media. No, you're not. No. That's a social media thing.
Media.
Taking pictures and saying, hey, we're covering the Pike Central game. No, you're not. You're taking pictures.
Yes.
You don't know that kid from that kid down the hallway, down the holler. You don't know who that is. But with media, you get to, as you know, you've been here for 21 years.
It's our career.
Yeah, you know who these people are.
Yes.
And I used to jokingly say when I was at YMT, I knew everything about the kid except their social security number.
And, I'm glad you touched on it, but because, you see so many streamers, so many Facebook, so-and-so says whatever. How many now do you get? Like, when you get requests, is it more from that end, or is it more still traditional media? And how do you separate who gets priority at the KHSA? Because, some of these pages, whether we like it or not, they get huge followings.
Sure they do.
And, people want to hear from them and all this or that. How do you guys kind of, separate the differences, I guess, because it's more and more prevalent?
Yeah. Well, this is funny how time moves on and people connect in certain ways. Julian Tackett, the commissioner, was the first me in my position now in 1983, 84, whatever. He was the first SID, if you will, Sports Information Director. And then there have been many others. Well, Joe Angolia, who is in charge of wrestling and golf and several other sports, he also was me like 14 years ago. So I get to learn from these two guys. And Butch Cope, who's the associate commissioner, he is in charge of baseball and helps with basketball and other sports. But I have 3 mentors in the building within a 30-foot walk, which is nice.
That helps.
Because they understand the lay of the land.
Yeah.
But in today's market, just because you stream something doesn't mean you're a media outlet. You're just trying to get likes and people to look at you. I want to look at you, Randy, and say, what are you writing?
Well, I always tell people my job is to be a fly on the wall. It's
Yeah.
not about me. It's about
That's
what
right.
they're doing. And if I'm out of the story, I don't want to be in the story.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm writing a column, that's a different ideal. But
Sure.
that's an opinion base. But I still try to put people first when I do those.
Well, you should. I learned a long time ago, and Keith Casebolt, who is, in my opinion, we use certain adjectives to describe people. An adjective can also be a noun, like legend. He is legendary. Keith Casebolt gave me a bit of advice 24 years ago as we record this, 25 years ago as we record this, that has stood the test of time. It got me what I wanted. It got me what I needed. It got me where I wanted to be. All of it's like the Holy Trinity. Where are you? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? One of those things. And it's the same thing with what you do. I learned to keep my mouth shut, eyes open, ears open. Learn I'm a Louisville guy. The first time I was ever in Eastern Kentucky, I woke up on a church basketball trip to Mountain Mission School at Grundy, Virginia. And I woke up under a train trestle and it said Whitesburg. I went, hey, that was December of 91. I went, hey, they got a really good girls basketball program. And then I went to Morehead State, but never really thought about the heart of the mountains.
Yeah.
The 13th, 14th, 15th regions for another 4 years or so. But I learned to keep my mouth shut, learn who you are. And see, today, as we record this, I learned something new about you today that I didn't know. But you ask questions. It's not about you. And one of the things that drives me nuts, and I get bitter about it, when people say, hey, we're doing it for the kids. Certain people do, and certain people don't.
Yes.
Would you do it for the kids if you weren't getting paid? Would you do it for the kids if you didn't get the accolades? Would you do it for the kids if you weren't getting that slap on the back? I can honestly say, starting at $13,500 in 1998, I did it for the kids. I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, you get to look back. Again, we talk about all of these kids that come through that are now adults. I still call them my kids. Maybe that's a little selfish, but from Williamsburg to Louisa in Lawrence County to East Ridge, that wasn't there when I first started, to Somerset, all of these people now are grown adults and they have families, they have careers, but I look at them as my kids because I got to cover them. You do that and hey, yeah, how about, so-and-so's boy. Yeah, so-and-so was mentioned in a broadcast. I go back and study what we did at YMT and KYT so I don't forget. I have a good memory. I was blessed with a good memory. But someone said, how do you remember the things you remember? Because you love it.
Yes.
Not because you want a paycheck. Yes. Not because you want a slap on the back for having the new, hey, we streamed that ball game. I don't care about that. Yeah. I got to know those kids when they were 16, 17, 18, and now they're 38, 39, 40. One of them even has a grandkid, which is kind of creepy, weird, that I covered at Southwestern High School in Pulaski. And that is when they remember you from when they were nothing, when they were a kid, that gets me emotional, man.
Yeah,
I tell you,
absolutely. That's a great point. And there's one other aspect about what we do.
Yeah.
And it's the storytelling.
Yes.
A lot of people are natural story. When I tell people, I was like, you sit down with Brian Milam, he is a story. He can tell some great stories. Why is that important, telling people stories as well? Because everybody's got a story to tell. It's just, how do you find it and what's the best way to convey it, whether it's TV, written, whatever the media is. Why is that important to you with this aspect of the job?
History is history. I think about the last time I was here, as we record this, the last time I was in Pikeville for a significant amount of time, not just a sightseeing visit. Oh, well, yeah, it was when UK basketball came here in 2022 for the flood relief victims.
Yes.
Well, I had always gone to Pikeville, East Ridge, Shelby Valley, Pike Central, Belfry, Phelps, all of the schools locally, Shelby Valley, certainly. But I went to the schools. I never really got a chance to come to drive down Main Street, drive down 2nd Street. Hey, there's High Street. What's this street? I don't know. Umbrella Alley, as I call it in Pikeville now, that's a really cool thing.
Yes.
And I see other cities copying that. I never really got to experience Pikeville. So I walked the 99 that day. I got here like 7 hours early. I walked the 99. I went to the Hatfield McCoy Museum and took more pictures. I was there. I was in town for 4 hours before the event took place. I got to absorb Pikeville for the first time. And that was, oh my gosh, 24 years after I first set foot in the heart of the mountains. And I went to the Pike County Board of Education, where I did my first Pike County story. So many stories we have, but history is history, and history is not concrete. It's fluid. We always thought when we were growing up, we didn't have the internet the way we know it now. So whatever happened, history is history. That's the way it was. It never changes. But as we know now, hey, Randy wrote an article in 2005 that shows what we knew is not what we thought back then. So-and-so coach doesn't have so many victories. You remember they had to forfeit some games, so they don't have as many. So-and-so, this happened recently. I had someone ask me, he said, yeah, so-and-so said they struck out 17 guys. Or I'm sorry, struck out 20 guys in a 7-inning ball game, baseball. Well, that means there's one out.
Strikeout.
And Brian, in the mold that I am, I dig.
You got to.
No, he only had 17. So this new record is a record. Not history rewrites itself. You know history. You have your stories. I have my stories. And we have so many. And they have to be told. Either in the written word, the video aspect with the written word, in radio, podcasts, they need to be preserved. Because God forbid, I pass, you pass in the next 10 minutes. We lose. This whole area loses something that we have not been able to tell. Writing and telling stories that are accurate. Not some of the stories that have a little extra sauce on the hot dog. They need to be told. They need to be preserved. And I think that's one thing Eastern Kentucky has been so great about over the decades. Yes, there have been stories, and they have been added onto with facts, or maybe redacted a little bit and say, well, that didn't really happen, but here's what happened. And coming in here, I see Grady Wallace. He was the NCAA scoring champion at South Carolina in the late 50s. Well, Brian takes a picture of that, even though I've known of him, didn't know him, but know of him for decades. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to start researching that person. We talked about Elisha Justice, 2010 Mr. Basketball, led Shelby Valley to the state title. Well, there's a story that he goes to Louisville, known as the Bullet. Rick Pitino flies into Pike County. Well, these things need to be told. They need to be cherished. They need to be held on to, and they need to be, and when you're gone, I'm gone, Elisha's gone, they still need to be held on to.
So I'm glad you just mentioned Elisha Justice and that Shelby Valley tape. Out of everything you've covered in the mountains, just mountains, the rest of the stuff, whatever, is that the coolest thing because I know we get so many football, and those are great too. Championships are hard, whether it's cheerleading, whatever. But the basketball aspect in this state is such a hard feat to accomplish. No classes, little mountain teams. Was that one of the coolest things? Because to me, I know my answer is that's the coolest thing I've seen.
It was what made it better. So let's think. Ashley Hatfield and Elisha and all the guys, they were 18 years old, 17, 18 years old. Here's the cool part that I can rehash after the fact. Watching that, I remember seeing them as 8, 9, 10-year-olds. There was an AAU team, I think the East Kentucky Lightning. Something like that.
That's it.
Okay. And they were dominating whatever.
Like Vegas,
whatever.
National tournaments, whatever.
It's like these little boys from Virgie, Millard, from Pikeville, from wherever they may have been. they're crushing the competition as 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds. And then we fast forward, and Elisha's the 15th region MVP as a freshman.
Yes.
And they beat Pikeville in the region finals, if memory serves. And then, you know, you have that run where they have that wonderful rivalry in the All-A and the state tournament with Elliott County.
Yeah.
But they get to 2010. It's the final time. Jason Boer's ball club they've been successful, but they haven't. Come on.
Yeah.
Pike County has never had a Sweet 16 boys basketball championship team ever. Virgie, 81-82 was so close. Belfry has the three-peat. Pikeville goes from 74 to 99 with no this place was dead.
Yes.
In terms of winning at the state tournament.
Yes. Now,
And then they win.
One of the things I always like too is seeing the people behind the scenes. They see little Elisha, and they come up to me and they'll say, I remember it was Mississippi, Stansbury. He was at
Rick Stansbury.
Yeah, he was at Mississippi State at the time. He was there scouting. He comes up and he asks, what is a holler? And does this kid dribble up and down the ball, his holler with the ball? And I'm trying to explain to him what a holler is and all this. And that will always stick it. And then he just looks at me and goes, if I can get this kid at my school, he's going to be on he's going to be the best.
That's right.
Those coaches fell in love with that guy and that
That's
team. That's such a special thing with the mountains. Is that one of the mountain appeals is they're always the underdog when they go to those big stages.
There is a romanticism about the mountains. Mm-hmm. If you are not from here, which I was not, I was a transplant and or adopted. And I don't mind it. I enjoy that. But there is a romanticism about Eastern Kentucky. And I think Adolph Rupp said it when he's quoting the Bible, I will turn mine eyes to the hills from which cometh my strength. Yeah. There has always been a romanticism about mountain basketball that goes back to 1928 with Carr Creek losing to Ashland 13-11 in 4 overtimes. Now think about that just for a minute. And they get to go to Chicago for the national tournament. That's where it all starts. And people in Chicago went, what's a holler?
Exactly.
Where are these kids from? They don't have any uniforms. They have an outdoor court. They have to get to their games by mule, horse, whatever transportation. It took 45 minutes to get to the train station, which took two days travel to get to Lexington. And so that's where it started. And here we are 98 years later. And there has always been this fascination with things you don't know anything about. Yeah. And you go back and think about John Bill Trivett, Pikeville, the Beehive defense. Mm-hmm. Did he start the full court press, which Adolph Rupp credits him with, that Adolph Rupp steals from John Bill Trivett at Pikeville? Man, that's deep.
A big question.
You think about the last MVP of the Sweet 16, boys Sweet 16, from a losing team. Todd May, 82 Virgie, not Paul Andrews, who hits the famous 50-footer at the buzzer to beat North Hardin 53-51. It's Todd May who does that. Then Richie Farmer does the same thing in 88. They lose to Allen Houston, who's a 15-year, 20-year veteran in the NBA. But he's the MVP. What Clay County did in the 80s, what Virgie did in the early 80s, what certain schools throughout history have done in the mountains, they may not have won, but they won the hearts, the minds, the soul of the people across the Commonwealth, even from the farthest toe of Kentucky, Fulton County, and way over in the almost Missouri and in Tennessee. People still say, who is that Johnny Cox guy?
Yeah, who's that? I hear that name. Who is that?
Who is this person?
That's a great thing. And you mentioned on it earlier. It brings me to my next thing. You said you're not from here.
Yeah.
But you ask anybody around here, Brian Milam, they say, oh, he's a mountain guy. He's a mountain guy. I hear it all the time. Oh, we got a mountain guy working. You know, he's at the KHSAA. We got somebody who got our back. Or when you're at KYT, we got a mountain guy if we need to be on Lexington. What does that mean to you that
Buddy, I promised myself on the way here I'm not going to get emotional. I get emotional about two things. My parents, two things, which are my parents and my grandparents, which are the same thing.
Yeah.
And Eastern Kentucky. what I tell people all the time, and I'm here tonight for a Pikeville High School fundraiser. I say it all the time. I have a debt that will never be able to be paid. I have a debt to the people of the mountains because they not only took me in, they accepted me. And in the process taught me who they were. I taught them who I was. But I tell people all the time, I was born in Louisville, but I was raised in the mountains.
Yeah.
Personally, professionally, my father and mother and family, they built the groundwork for who I am or who I should be. But the people of the mountains, they made me into the human being that I hopefully have. Yeah, we've all screwed up. We've all done dumb things, the things we regret. But my greatest successes come because people of Eastern Kentucky adopted me and brought me into their homes. They brought me into their communities. They brought me into their lives. They brought me into their homes.
Yeah.
In a way that I don't know how many other people have had that. And so if anyone in the mountains that I can help says, we need your help, what can I do? If I can't do it, I know someone who can.
Yeah, exactly.
Those people are you asked me to do this. I can't say no to you. You are a part of this place. And this place is my most special region. It's not just one county. It's Floyd County.
Yeah,
it's Letcher. It's Harlan. It's places in between. I can't say no.
Absolutely. And, we can move on from that a little bit if you want. I mean,
whatever you want. It's your show, player. It's your show.
We can do whatever. But, it's still kind of the same thing. But, we always hear the term mountain legends, whether it's a coach, a player.
Yeah.
Why do you hear that term over and over, whether it's a Philip Haywood or a John or a Dudley Hilton or whoever? You go down the line, you always hear the name mountain legends. Is it because they're always talking about Eastern Kentucky and spreading the message and just the way of life here? Or what does that mean to you when you hear that?
When I hear the phrase legend, that is a Philip Haywood. That's a Hillard Howard. That's a Dudley Hilton. That is a John Bill Trivett, even though John Bill Trivett never won a state title. That is a Wallace Wawa Jones, who won the 44 state championship with Harlan. That is a Kenny Roark in Middlesboro, who won the 98 football championship with the Yellow Jackets. That's Corbin. That's Cotton Adams. That's all these people. The word itself, legend, I think can be, it's an adjective and a noun. The legendary, which is a descriptive, fill in the blank.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Hey, he is a legend. That can be a little bit of everything. Philip Haywood was that.
Yes.
Hillard Howard, Chris McNamee in time will be that legend. I think the legend, your story, I think your story has to be written and then it has a close. It has an end page. It doesn't have a postscript. It doesn't have anything else. It is finished. I think that's when you are a legend. Now, everybody has their own opinion. Dudley Hilton's still coaching. I know for a fact he wants to beat a certain mark.
I know. We both know.
We know that. Yes, he's already a legend.
Absolutely.
But I think when we are finished with our chapter, when our book is closed, you want someone to pick it up and read it.
Yes.
That makes you even more legendary.
Yeah, you've built a folklore.
Right? You have. I think Billy Hicks, who has 1,013 wins, the winningest coach in boys basketball history in this state. Well, he started in Harlan County. He was at Everett's. And I wanted to do a story years ago on the forgotten state title. He won a state title at Harlan, 1983, an All-A title.
Crazy.
Before the All-A was as we know it today.
Yeah.
And then he coached at Corbin. And he ends Bobby Keith's run in 91. Bobby Keith at Clay County had won in 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 90. Then they beat them in the semifinals, I think by 17 in the region semifinals. That solidified Billy Hicks as a mountain guy. Then he leaves a few years later to go to Corbin, or to go to Scott County, and becomes a ginormous man, goes to 7 state title games. But legendary has its own connotation with all of us. But when you get that, and not from one person, but when you get that, that woman, she's legendary. Jerry Grigsby, legendary name.
Yes.
But then you've arrived. I think sometimes we throw it around like the word great. Are they a great player or just a very good player? Who
Nothing wrong with being a very good
no, heck, I'd like to have been a very good football player. I was a punter, so that makes me not a very good player. But I think sometimes we throw around these things too much, and they should be reserved for those people who have earned it and taken it to a whole new stratosphere.
Yeah, perfect answer. I know I'm probably taking up a lot of your time.
No, buddy, I am here for you,
we
brother,
could sit here too,
and for the people watching this.
I'll give you a couple more and we'll wrap up because I don't want to keep you here.
No, I hope you do. I enjoyed this.
But just kind of talk about, where the athletics is going in this state. I know there's been a lot of announcements. You got a shot clock, basketball's changing.
Yeah.
Everything's always changing. You got new sports always coming in. Where is sports going at in this state? It seems like the competition level keeps increasing. The talent level keeps increasing. Say 5 years, where do you see this state's overall, whether it be football, like basketball, whatever, like where do you see this state going overall in athletics? And that's a very vague question. It's hard to answer because there's so many sports, but do we keep adding sport after sport? I know you've already announced
it's coming.
So if you want to kind of talk about, and the shot, how's the shot clock even going to change stuff? I mean,
well, the shot clock, the one of the beauties of this state, we have one state. Think of the sports we have. First off, we have 20 plus sports.
Yes.
You have a class system in track. You have a class system or a weight division in wrestling.
Yes.
So you have divisions. You have classes, if you will. You have classes in football. But we are a one champion in baseball. Softball. We're a one champion in boys and girls volleyball. We're a one champion in basketball, one champion in soccer, girls and boys, one champion in golf, that's awesome. But with the shot clock, I really believe at the moment we're fine. It's going to take time for the kids to adapt to that. Not at the moment. If you're a senior in high school, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're an 8th grader, I really believe it's going to widen the chasm between decent, good, very good, excellent, state champion-esque, state champion caliber.
I agree.
I think you're going to see the chasm start getting divided. Well, what's that mean? That means if you're in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, you get to learn what it's like to play with a shot clock. Guess what human beings have always done for thousands of years? Adapted. Adapted. We are not stagnant. We have adapted with the wheel, with fire, with iron, with the cotton gin, with whatever. We have always adapted to the next phase. Yeah, it's going to be, I think it could get ugly.
Yes.
For a while.
For a few years.
It could get, but, you're never as good here as you could be here. And it's going to take time. But I just don't want it to lead to a class system. Indiana went to that class system almost 30 years ago. They have not been the same state since. And I think the commissioner, Julian Tackett, who I say this because I admire him, not because he's my boss. I admired him before he was my boss. He takes pride in his mountain heritage that he has. His wife's from Fletcher County.
Yeah.
I believe mother was from Eastern Kentucky, Pike County. He has an affection for the mountains, but he also has an affection for far western Kentucky. It's not a mountain thing.
Yes. There's
a lot of teams in the rural part of western Kentucky that struggle with Louisville, Lexington, Bowling Green, northern Kentucky. That it used to be Big Dipper back in the day. Used to call it the Golden Triangle. Well, let's take that Golden Triangle and put it to Bowling Green, because Warren Central, Bowling Green High School, Greenwood High School, South Warren most recently, who won a 45-0 softball title. It's almost like a strange square. They are very good. They have more population. They have more things. But the shot clock, people have to adapt, embrace it.
Yes.
Things change. You don't like it. You may not like the president, but you still got to pay your taxes. You may not like the mayor, the judge executive, the whatever, but you still have to move. You can't just sit still. The shot clock is the basketball version of a presidential change. You don't like it. You're a Republican, don't like the Democrat. You're a Democrat, don't like the Republican. Life goes on. It's gone on for hundreds and thousands of years. But when we deal with the shot clock, I don't want it to revolutionize the fundamentals of the game. Because when the shot clock came into the NCAA lexicon, it started in the ACC a little bit. But the 85-86 NCAA, they had a 45-second shot clock. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Dean Smith won't have the four corners offense anymore. I think North Carolina's done okay in the last 40 years.
Yeah.
Just saying. I think basketball has improved in the last 40 years than it did when Louisville won the 85-86, which is the first NCAA shot clock state national championship. We're going to be fine. Just breathe and embrace it and let it go.
Yeah. This might be a tough one too, because like you said, everything's always changing. It's already been changing as we see kids moving school to school. Is there a solution for that, or is that just part of what it is now and is going to be? Or is there something maybe in the future that limits some of this stuff? Because some people like it, some people don't like it. I mean, but it's right now it's part of our game, and you see some. We're going back to social media. You won't see me ever doing a transfer tracker.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's the dumbest thing that does not help kids. You want to be in it for the kids? That doesn't help kids. That makes it, that's the LeBron James, I'm taking my talents to Miami. No, that doesn't help things. You want to send it out. There is a way to do it and a way not to do it. And I don't like the way it has been done. The transfer tracker, whatever I don't know who does it.
I don't know.
But I've seen it and I don't like it.
I hear people do it now.
I don't like it.
Everybody's entitled to do what they want. That's their style.
Yes, sir. Free country.
They're free to do that. I just not what I do.
Yeah.
But you also see in West Virginia, the NIL over there. Is that ever going to come here, or should it ever come here? What's your thoughts on stuff like that? Because everything's always changing.
I don't know if I'm a conservative liberal or a liberal conservative. I don't know. I'm kind of right down the middle. I think that let's first address the white elephant in the room that no one talks about publicly: recruiting.
Yeah.
Every school in this county has recruited someone. Every school in the 15th region at some point has recruited. Now, does that mean they've been given money? No. I'm not talking about that. Randy, I work in Hazard. I like what you do. I'm recruiting. I want you to leave Pikeville and come to Hazard. That's recruiting. As I call it, encouragement. But it's a form of recruiting. Every school at Eastern Kentucky at some point has recruited someone. Girl, boy, sport, whatever. They've done it. Recruiting has gone on for more than 100 years in this state. The first one that I thoroughly remember was and people have used ineligible players. Owensboro used a guy named Frank Ramsey, not the UK Frank Ramsey who went on to be a Boston Celtic. He's 20 years old. In 1930, Owensboro High School uses a 20-year-old. Everett's High School used to get coal miners out of the hoot owl, the hoot owl shift, as Randy McCoy used to call it. They're like, yeah, just come on in here and we'll suit you up. You're 22 years old playing. People have bent the rules or broken them for decades and decades and decades. I don't like the transfer for the sake of, hey, you come here and you're going to be a superstar. Everybody, the social media world wants to be a superstar. I'm 6 foot tall. In my prime, I was 185. You think how many 6 foot white guys have been drafted in Major League Baseball from 97, 98 on and made it? Not very few, unless you could throw 100 miles an hour, very few. I didn't take it personal when I didn't get drafted, even though I had a great college career. My name is still in the list of certain things at school 30 years later. That's great. but I wasn't good enough. It's okay.
Yeah.
But when kids, and I've seen this recently, kids have been at their 3rd, 4th high school in 4 years.
Yeah.
Come on, what are we doing here, people? What are we doing? You're chasing something instead of building something. I would rather build from the ground up. You look at a wonderful building. You look at the courthouse here in town. You look at the bigger buildings in Pikeville. And what do? You're like, wow, that's beautiful. Look at that. Does anyone look at the foundation and say, man, that thing's sturdy? No, nobody does. But the foundation is what's going to build that big building. And that foundation starts at home with mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt and uncle, brother, sister. And if you don't have that at home, it's not the coach's fault. It's not the commissioner's fault. It's not the principal's fault. It's not the whoever's fault, superintendent. It's your fault because you are chasing something instead of getting better and learning and cultivating a real base, a real foundation, a real whatever you want to call it. You want to get biblical? You build your house on the solid rock, not the shifting sand. And I think this whole world is nothing but shifting sand. I want to go here. It gives me the best opportunity for that year. And then, hey, we're not very good. I'm going to go over here to that school for the next year. You keep moving around, and then by the time you know it, you're a freshman in college. What have you learned? Where am I going to go? What do I do? I don't know. You haven't built anything. Yeah. That's a long answer, but that gets me riled up.
Yeah, but I think, to me, when I look at it, a lot of it becomes from the higher leagues, like your colleges and all that, and it trickles down. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah,
or
sure.
Because you see it all the time with the colleges, and the kids always emulate what they want to be.
That's
right?
Exactly right. When I was a kid, the first superstar of my childhood, Willie Stargell, had the big bat flip, and then Reggie Jackson. I had a little dog. I named it Reggie when I was 5 years old. We emulate what we see at the top level. The problem is now that these people are paid so much, and now the college kids are being paid so much. Mm-hmm. And the Reaganomics, if you go back to the 80s, it's a trickle-down effect. What you see here will trickle down, and it'll eventually will get here. The recession of 20 years ago started way up here. It took a while for it to get to the mountains, but it got to the mountains. Eventually it did. I don't like when pro sports dictate what college does and college dictates what high school does. But Jimmy Johnson at Miami, think about this. How many option teams did we have in the 60s, 70s, 80s? A lot. Nebraska ran the option. Oklahoma ran the option. Kentucky ran the option in the early 90s. And then Jimmy Johnson said, you know what? If we want NFL players, guess what we're going to do? We're going to play NFL-style football in Miami. What happened after Howard Schnellenberger left to work with the USFL for a team that never experienced one down on the field? Then went to Louisville. Jimmy Johnson comes in. Here comes Michael Irvin. Here comes Vinny Testaverde. Here comes all of these NFL guys. And they helped revolutionize college football, because then guess what Bobby Bowden did? That's a good point. Let's go get Charlie Ward. Let's go get Chris Winkie. And let's go get Lawrence Dawsey and these guys who were receivers, quarterbacks. And we're going to build an NFL team with our team. Because look, it's the John Calipari effect. What did Cal do when he got to Kentucky? I'm going to go get NBA guys at the college level, and they're one and done. Hey, look at you. Come here. I've got $2 billion of NBA revenue with my guys. Well, you're going to go there. Well, now it's come to high school. Hey, you win a region title? That's great. Come on over. Look at this. We've gone to the quarterfinals. We went to the semifinals. Look at this. Come on down. I love talking mountain sports. The good, the bad, the ugly. We are in it for the kids. I know you are. I know I am.
Absolutely.
That's one reason I went to the KHSAA. Nothing against the University of Kentucky.
Yeah.
But I got tired of covering UK.
Yeah.
The TV station I was at said, well, we want to talk about UK. Well, so is WLEX, and so is TVQ, and so is Fox 56.
Yeah.
And so is WYMT. But I cut my teeth in WYMT on U-Pike, Union, the Cumberlands, Alice Lloyd College, Morehead State University, UVA-Wise. I loved going over the border.
Such a special little place over
It
there.
is.
Nobody really knows about
I
it.
love going to Virginia to see UVA-Wise. There is something special that cannot be put into words, that cannot be put into, accurately put into writing or video to encompass what we feel about a place. I loved going on a Saturday, going to Union College. I don't know why. I liked it more than some other places, but that was what I enjoyed doing. And I love going to high schools throughout, not just the 15th region, which I know is the base of this, but I loved going to Middlesboro and Bell County and Pineville and Redbird and OBI and going to places that I went to Pierist and David School once a long time ago. Those kids are trying just as hard as the kids at the bigger, more established schools.
Places like Phelps.
Yep.
People like Marty Casey.
Marty Casey. I remember the first time I ever went to Phelps on a Thursday night football game against South Floyd.
What does those people mean to high school sports? A guy never played.
Yeah.
He's been there helping for what, 40 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just a mountain thing, or is that?
No.
I mean, that is something, just dedication, that a lot of people don't know. Why is people like that, or guys like that, so special, I guess?
Because they are the definition of what a community means. They are the definition of what a school means. School pride. Remember when you were growing up and I was growing up, by God, I wanted to be a Butler Bear in Louisville. That's where I went to school. And by gosh, I had school pride. He is Phelps Hornets all the way.
Mr. Phelps.
It doesn't matter if Phelps loses by 50 or wins by 50. He's going to send me a Facebook message with a crooked picture. I love you, Marty, but it's going to be a little crooked. He's going to say, hey, we beat so-and-so tonight. We're 3-1. We haven't been 3-1 in 4 years. He knows the history. He'll go back and say, 1984, Brian, we went 10-0. Last perfect season in Phelps football history, which it is. And I see him at the All-A, or used to at the All-A state tournament. He would be the ball boy. He took pride in that.
Yes.
But he's been a prideful person in one place. Now, could he have, if he had certain advantages that other people had, could he have gone to other places and say, hey, I'm Pikeville, I'm Pike Central, I'm Belfry? No, he's Phelps. He doesn't care what the Pirates do. He doesn't care what Pond Creek does. He doesn't care what Robinson Creek does, Lick Creek, pick your creek. It don't matter. He is Phelps through and through. But those people have stories and they love it. So much so they named the little press box in the area for Randy Casey, or for Marty Casey.
Yes.
And I think of kids that should take a great page out of their book and say, what's it mean to be a Phelps Hornet? Mm-hmm. What's it mean to be a Pike Central Hawk, Pikeville Panther? Every time I go to a school, I go to the trophy case first. I want to see who they have in the Hall of Fame. The last time I was in Pikeville, again, 2022, Elisha Justice and then the girls coach, Christy Oram. They took me into the new indoor facility. They used to be a swimming pool when I started next to Community Trust Bank. And I said, wow, this place has changed. But as soon as we left there, I go to the cafeteria area at Pikeville where the Hall of Fame is. I took pictures of every single plaque, and I took it home and I put it in my computer. I was like, okay, so Chase Gibson, first team All-State, 1999. He was my first favorite Pikeville player that was football guy.
Yeah.
It's like, did this, went to Marshall. I saw him. He was an assistant at EKU, assistant at Colorado. I keep up with these kids that are still kids to me. Jeremiah Akers, number 33, running around, That means a lot to me, but those people meant something to that school, that community, and their time. And I think we talk about time. All of us want it, but very few of us do to the maximum with it when we can do it. Marty Casey has done at Phelps the best he could. Philip Haywood at Belfry, the best he could once he left Prestonsburg. Went to how many state titles? God, like 16 total, I think. Something like 14, 8 and 6, I think, all the time.
I think so.
Yeah. Is Belfry ever going to beat Louisville Central? Just give it time. They will.
And then
They just wore them out.
to where you didn't know if Louisville. I mean, some of the best games I've ever watched.
Yeah.
What was it? 12-6 double overtime.
Yeah, overtime. Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, so
They're getting closer. Is
Oh,
Pikeville ever going to beat Beechwood? Oh yeah, they did.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they did. Finally, it took a minute to solve the puzzle.
Yeah.
But they got it. Is so and so ever going to win a region title? They're 0-4 all time. And I'm not going to mention the school. They can't get there, but eventually they will. It took Magoffin County 100 years to win a boys regional basketball title. And my God, they get to the quarterfinals and they become the darlings of Lexington for about 72 hours.
Yes.
Man, I tell you what, I say we because my heart has never left. My head and my job had to leave the mountains for certain opportunities that could not be achieved here. But we have it so great in the mountains. Yes, there are problems. There's going to be problems everywhere, man.
Absolutely.
But when I came in here today, I got here early just so I could drive around.
Yeah.
And had my emotions before I got on this set.
Usually me and Brian, you won't see us get them. It's usually people will say, those two can't like each other, right? Because we're usually just giving it back and forth to each other. But that's just kind of how we are. That's just, I think that's that camaraderie within people within sport. And I don't think it's just set to people in Eastern Kentucky because the media people in Eastern Kentucky really get along. But what is it about just being a media person and getting to interact with them and knowing them and knowing that they share, and there's so few of us now, what does that mean to you knowing that, we share a camaraderie no matter where we're at, especially the smaller places because, the national people are the national people. We all know that.
Yeah. Intimacy means something. Whether it's two guys who are in the same field. Hey, man, good to see you. That's an intimate moment. You saw me at the football state finals a few years ago, and I just went, and you took a picture. Someone did, and you sent it to me. I went, oh, Lord, we look like a bunch of clowns, or at least I do. But it's an intimate moment when you get to go to that Pikeville game. You get to go to Belfry, Phelps, Pike Central, Shelby Valley, East Ridge. You get to go to Floyd Central to cover certain things. For me, as I get older, you start to think about what you did not do when you were younger. When we're younger, we're wide open.
Yeah.
As we get older, that road narrows. And you start thinking about, I go to you or I go to someone like you and say, let me give you a piece of advice. I saw this happen. I did it, but I saw it happen to others, but don't do it this way. Do it that way. And you will be flying. Keith Casebolt, I mentioned, he gave me great advice a long time ago. And when you hear Keith Casebolt, you got that big mind. I'm not going to do it because I'll start laughing. But Keith Casebolt, WYMT, Mountain News. He's got that great voice. He gave me the best advice that I've ever had as a professional. And I texted him the other day, it was his birthday, and I said, you are one of the building blocks of my life. Because I did what you told me to do, because you have been through that road, you've been down that road before. You've been in that ball game before, that situation, and I listened to you. It's amazing, children, for those of you who might be watching this who are a teenager, your parents were children too. They were 15 years old. They were 18 years old. They have traveled the same path you have. Listen to them. Because they know what to do and what not to do. People give you credit for things. They give me credit.
We have nothing to do.
My guy AA over here gives it credit for stuff. And I have learned, it's not that I was smart. I paid attention to how others failed.
Yes.
And did the opposite.
Yes.
You screwed up doing that. Guess what? Brian's not going to do that. I'm going to go that direction. And not screw up. People are like, man, genius. I was like, no, it's just common sense.
I don't know if I've got anything else, Brian, but I will say this: anytime you're in Pikeville, whether you're doing a Pike County Bowl luncheon or a gala or whatever things, anytime you're in here, just give me a heads up, and we'll do this again. Like,
Yeah.
I can talk for another 2 hours, but
Buddy, there's
you
so
know,
many things we
there's
could
so
go
many
through.
things we could get into, but I know the gap is coming up, and I don't want you to be late.
I
for all
don't. It's
that.
still daylight, right? We still got time.
So
You know, I'm gonna say this tonight at this Pikeville fundraiser, but I got it on. I get to the highway, filled up with gas, get to the highway. The first song I hear is one of my favorites, and it's the Beatles. The long and winding road brings me back to your door.
Yeah.
How many long and winding roads have we driven over the decades? Countless.
Yeah.
And they lead me back to your door, because you get with newspaper. Yeah, people may not visually recognize you, but they know your work. And then when they see you, like, oh yeah, he's always got that stupid Reds hat on, you know. And they would see me on TV, and they're like, hey Randy, thanks for being here. Hey Brian, thanks for being here. And I thought about that as I start to wind through Stanton and Campton and get to Salyersville.
Yeah.
The long and winding road always brings me back to your door. It brings you home, and this is my home away from home. When my days are done, there's a part of me that wants to have my ashes, and I don't want to get buried, divided into about 36 counties. Just a little bit on that football field or that baseball field. Just because,
perfect to me,
yeah,
because
to me it does.
you spend so much time with these
Yeah,
places.
I love these kids that are now adults. I love them to a point that I've had them stay at my house. Hey, you're going through a rough time right now. I get it. Come stay here, rent free, figure it out, and we'll work from there. Because you did something for me that you'll never know. Yeah, I gave you publicity. You heard that. You're the one who had 32 carries for 162 yards and 4 touchdowns, not me. I just had a stupid camera.
I always tell people, there's some kids, they could go out and they could play stickball, and they're just photogenic. They're just going to be in every photo.
Hey, there's some great kids out there,
And
man.
then some kids who are some of the best athletes you ever see, sometimes the camera just don't find them the same way.
No,
Some
it
kids,
doesn't.
it just finds them. So, like, I always tell people, if you're not in your picture, it's not because you're not. Sometimes it's my fault. I just didn't take a photo, or I got a great shot of something else.
Yeah.
And you have to use the best shots, right?
You do.
Whether it's
And
video, whatever.
being at Sports Overtime, and I'll say this again tonight, 18 letters changed my life, and in some ways changed your life if you are in this room. WYMT, Sports Overtime. Those 18 letters captivated a region when, before streaming, before the internet, when you had to watch TV and say, by God, what is going on here? It's WYMT, it's Sports Overtime.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. And
I remember a lot of Friday nights, we'd be on deadlines. We had tight deadlines back
sure you
then.
did.
But we would try to get done in time to watch Sports Overtime because we all wanted to see what everybody was doing. You know, we wanted to follow everybody, every team. So
there is Rich Eisen, used to be with ESPN Sports Center. He has a podcast called This Was Sports Center.
Oh, wow.
Because back in the day, ESPN said, this is Sports Center.
Yeah.
And I've thought, how cool would it be to have a This Was Sports Overtime? Because Sports Overtime, let's be honest with you, it's not what it used to be.
Yeah.
Times change. It used to be a 40 to 45-minute show. Now it's a 10-minute, 12-minute, 20-minute show, depending on certain events of the day. Kids have come and gone through YMT like it's a carousel. Well, when I was there and other people before me, we stayed a while, and people got to know us. And God, Sports Overtime. If I could relive 98 to 2010 all over again, doing the things I did well, the things I stunk at, the mistakes I made, and redo it again, I'm telling you, for those listening, and this was for the Appalachian News Express, for the owners who live somewhere in the Deep South, for people in the Big Sandy, it will rise again in some capacity. Sports Overtime. It may look different, may not have that name. But if you're smart and you listen to the right people, what was will be again. And it can be again if you truly want it to be. because Eastern Kentucky set the foundation for high school athletics in this state. Not just YMT, people before YMT, people in Knott County, people in Pike County. I've got a DVD of the 1982 game with Williamson and Virgie from the Virgie gym, and there's a smiling Paul Patton, who was the Jed's executive at the time, wearing this tight maroon sweater and being interviewed. And I thought, this is stuff that we didn't have in Louisville growing up. We didn't have this in Lexington. Not like this all of the time. And the mountains and rural Kentucky wrote the book. They need sometimes to reread what they have written to take it to that next level. And I really think it's coming. With the right people, the right resources, I promise you, Randy, it's coming.
I think that's a great way to end this one.
Sounds good.
This won't be the last one, though. I'm sure Brian will be back soon enough.
Yeah.
We'll do it again for Corey Fest, for Brian Milam. Unwired Appalachia. Check us out on all of our Facebook, YouTube. Where else, Corey, did you say? Spotify?
Anywhere you can stream, man.
Anywhere you can stream. Just check it out. Also read our newspapers. Dead period's getting ready to come back, and when dead period ends, we'll just give you a heads up. We want all the football coaches. We want you all to come in here because we want to do our season previews.
Amen to that.
Kelly Bowl Magazine. I think me and Corey, we've talked about it. This ain't set in stone. We want to have the link for the interviews to the story, maybe. I don't know. And if I'm wrong on that, we can cut this out. I don't know. Because
that's the beauty of streaming. You can edit things.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.